If you want to scale your wholesaling or flipping company to 7 figures, then it's mandatory that you have marketing systems in your business that can generate motivated seller leads into your business on demand. So in this video, I'm going to break down the top marketing channels for generating motivated seller leads in 2022. So I have coached over 300 wholesalers and house flippers to scaling their business to multiple 6 and 7 figures. And by far, one of the biggest challenges that I see with real estate investors, whether it's wholesalers, flippers, buy and hold investors, the biggest challenge that I see by far with investors before they come in and start working with us is finding motivated seller leads. By far, that's the biggest challenge that I see across the board. Having spoken to thousands of wholesalers and flippers, the number one thing that comes up regularly is that they can't find enough motivated seller leads and they don't have a consistent, predictable lead flow coming into their business. So if you're new to this channel, my name is James Hodges. I am the founder of REI Game Changers, and the purpose of this channel is to basically document my best practices that I have found in scaling my real estate company to multiple 7 figures, and the best practices that I have found in helping dozens of wholesalers and flippers scale their businesses to 7 figures as well. So in this video, I really want to break down the top marketing channels that I see are working best for generating motivated seller leads in 2022. Now, when I first started my real estate company, I was using several different marketing channels. And in the beginning, I was using some more time-intensive marketing channels. And so there are really 2 primary types of marketing channels. There's either time-intensive, meaning you have to put in hours in order to generate leads. You have to put in time in order to generate leads. Or you've got money-intensive marketing channels where you put in money, where you create leverage to generate leads. So both work, both strategies work. One is just going to allow you to leverage your time a little bit more because you don't have to be the one putting in hours in order to generate leads. You can use money and leverage that in order to scale up your business, as opposed to putting in more hours in order to generate more leads for your business. Now, when I first started, I was basically doing mostly time-intensive marketing channels. So I was driving for dollars, meaning I was driving around neighborhoods looking for distressed houses, looking for houses that looked vacant or distressed. There was a lot of distress for the property. I was doing bandit signs, which basically is driving around town, putting up plastic signs on telephone poles or stakes in the ground where I say, we buy houses fast cash, we buy ugly houses, and putting up signs all over town. I was also doing some cold calling, and all of those methods worked. I got deals from it, but they were time-intensive marketing strategies. And so I did the time-intensive marketing strategies for a little while, and then that allowed me to close some deals where I was able to close 3 deals initially, got about $35,000 in profit from those deals that I was able to pour into some more money-intensive channels that allow me to create more leverage in the business. Now, the first marketing channel that I went into outside of those time-intensive channels was direct mail. And at this time, this was at the beginning of 2018. At this time in 2018, direct mail was working extremely well. I mean, I could pour money into direct mail and get a 7, 8, 9x return on investment from direct mail, which means if I put in $1,000, I get $8,000 or $9,000 back from the direct mail campaigns, which is an extremely good return on investment from direct mail. Now, a lot of people are happy if they get a 3 to 5x return on investment from direct mail. And the reason why is because direct mail has just become so competitive now in today's market. And so that's why I'm creating this video where I'm going to be talking about what marketing channels are working best in 2022. Because when I first started my real estate company, direct mail was working extremely well. Now in 2022, it's not working as well. And so we have to be able to adapt and change our methods as time progresses. We have to know what marketing channels work right now and be able to pivot and adapt in our business if we're going to be able to sustain growth year over year in our business. And that's what happened to me. I realized that as time progressed, direct mail became less and less effective. So I had to turn to other marketing channels. I had to bring in other marketing channels into my business. And so I started bringing in other marketing channels. I started testing a lot of other marketing channels. I paid a lot of coaches to learn how to advertise in other ways. And over the years, I have really spent a ton of time and money trying to perfect these marketing channels that we're using in our business. And now I coach hundreds of real estate investors all over the country. And so I get the benefit of seeing what works all across the country, what works not only in my business, but in several other people's businesses as well, hundreds of other people's businesses. And so based off of the data that I am seeing in my business and the hundreds of real estate investors' businesses that I help coach, these are the top 4 marketing channels that I am seeing are most effective for generating motivated sellers in 2022. So in no particular order, I'm going to start with number 1. One of the top marketing channels that I am seeing that's working extremely well in 2022 is radio advertising. Now, radio advertising is not a new marketing channel. Radio advertising has been around for a long time. And one of the reasons why I believe that it works so well for real estate investors is for a couple of reasons. So reason number 1 is there's a built-in authority whenever you are advertising on radio. When you advertise on radio, you are advertising right alongside big name brands, and there's an association of authority because you have the same advertising platform as those other big brands. You know, I mean, you're advertising alongside Ford, you're advertising alongside Sherwin-Williams, like all of these big brands who advertise on radio, your ads are playing right next to theirs. And so there's an associated authority to your ads whenever you advertise on radio. And when you get leads that come in, whenever your leads call in from radio, I'm telling you, those leads are some of the hottest leads that you will get, and they have a different level of respect. So that's one big advantage to advertising on radio. Another big advantage to radio advertising is that there's much less competition from a real estate investor standpoint on radio stations. When you're advertising on radio, a lot of the times that seller is not hearing a bunch of other radio ads from other real estate investors. You may be the only one on that radio station. And so if they hear your advertisement, they're not hearing you alongside all of these other real estate investors. And so there's a lot less competition within that particular channel. Whereas as opposed to direct mail, they may receive a handful of postcards every single week. And so they've got a stack of postcards. I've been to several seller appointments where they have a stack of postcards or letters sitting on their table when you show up to the appointment. It's not like that with radio advertising. There's much lower competition on the radio stations. So that's one of the top channels that I'm seeing. And that another reason why I really like radio advertising is that is inbound, meaning they are coming to you to sell their house. You're not chasing them down, they're coming to you to sell their house. And so there's a difference between inbound channels where they are coming to you to sell their house and outbound channels where you are basically more invasive, chasing after them. And so outbound channels are a little bit more invasive. You are contacting them, whereas radio advertising, they are contacting you. And it's always better. You're always going to have more high quality leads whenever they are contacting you. You typically get higher quality leads when they are reaching out to you. Now, I'm going to say number 2 and number 3 here because they're very similar. So when evaluating most of our clients' businesses, hundreds of businesses, and what marketing channels are working really well, some of the top marketing channels that are working really, really well right now, still in today's market in 2022, are SMS and cold calling. So we talked about radio advertising. Number 2 and number 3 are SMS and cold calling. And SMS and cold calling, so if you're not familiar with SMS and cold calling, this is where you download a list of distressed property owners or property owners in your area, and there are several different lists that you can target. I'll cover the specific list that you can target, what are the best lists to target in another video, but SMS and cold calling are extremely effective marketing channels still in today's market, and SMS and cold calling still have some of the lowest cost per acquisitions associated with those channels because they're very cheap, they're very inexpensive to utilize, and SMS in particular is the cheapest cost per acquisition marketing channel across the board for myself and all of my clients. And so I love SMS marketing. I think that it gives you a ton of control over your marketing. And personally in my business, and when I'm teaching other clients as well, I like to utilize a strategy where we're using a combination of inbound marketing channels, so like radio advertising is an inbound channel, and outbound channels, SMS and cold calling. I like to use both, and the reason why is because those inbound channels provide high quality leads coming to us, but the outbound channels provide more control over the lead volume that we see, because I can turn up the dial on SMS marketing any day of the week. So if I need more leads coming into my business this week because I haven't seen as many inbound leads coming in, I can crank the dial on the SMS marketing and control the lead volume as much or as little as I want to. And so SMS is incredible. Now, there are a lot of regulations around the SMS marketing world right now. And so you have to be more cautious. You have to be more intentional with how you approach SMS marketing. Even with all of the regulations going on right now, SMS is still one of the top marketing channels that we are seeing for generating motivated seller leads. Number 3 is cold calling. Cold calling is one of the oldest ways to generate leads in the book. This is classic prospecting where we download a list, we purchase a list of sellers, or you can have a driving for dollars list where you drive, look for distressed properties, you build your own list. Regardless, you have a list of prospective homeowners that you're going to be contacting to see if they want to sell their house. And basically, it's either you or somebody on your team, like a virtual assistant, who is cold outbound dialing these homeowners and asking them if they are looking to sell their house. If they are looking to sell their house, interested in a cash offer, and outbound dialing them. Now, as far as cold calling goes, I highly, highly recommend to use a power dialer, meaning you can use a power dialer like Batch Dialer, you can use a power dialer like Mojo Dialer or Ready Mode. Those are some of the top 3 power dialers that I recommend in this space. And cold calling is extremely, extremely effective. Now with cold calling, you have to play the volume game, truly, because you're interrupting somebody's day whenever you're cold calling them. And so it very much is a volume game whenever you're cold calling. If you have a VA, just to give you guys some metrics, if you have a virtual assistant who's cold calling 40 hours per week, usually it takes about 50 leads in order to get one deal through cold calling. 50 leads in order to get one deal through cold calling. And so when you are approaching cold calling, some people get discouraged because they contact 100 people and they don't have a deal. Well, it's a volume game. These are 50 leads that raise their hand saying, yes, I'm interested in selling my house. And when you get that raised hand, that is somebody that we classify as a lead. And now when we get 50 of those people, usually we can convert 1 out of 50 leads for cold calling. One of those 50 leads is going to convert into a deal. And so with cold calling, it very much is a volume game. If you have a full-time VA who's dialing 40 hours per week, usually you're going to see one lead every 4 to 5 weeks from one full-time cold caller dialing 40 hours per week. And so when you're approaching that channel, it's very important to understand the metrics that are going to allow you to be successful in that marketing channel. And that's one of the reasons why most people fail with cold calling, is that they just don't put in enough volume and they have unrealistic expectations around how much work is required to be able to get deals. So expect 50 leads to get a deal with cold calling. And then let's talk about number 4, one of my favorite marketing channels ever for generating motivated seller leads, and particularly if you're trying to generate highly motivated seller leads, is pay-per-click advertising. And so pay-per-click advertising, you're usually advertising on Google or Bing. Google is by far the most effective search engine that we can advertise for pay-per-click advertising. And basically what Google pay-per-click advertising is putting an ad on Google, and we are targeting specific keywords on Google. And so when somebody types into Google, sell my house fast in Austin, Texas, sell my house for cash, Austin, Texas, sell my ugly house. You know, there are a ton of different keywords that we can target. And when somebody types that keyword into Google, your ad is displayed on Google. And if you're not familiar with Google PPC advertising, the ads are usually the top 4 displays that show up on Google. So the ads are the top 4 options that show up on Google whenever you search something, and they'll have a little ad symbol next to them. And Google pay-per-click advertising is by far one of the best ways to generate motivated seller leads, because this form of advertising is an intent-based advertising, meaning that the seller has something internally that's causing them to go search out a solution, seek out a solution for a problem that they have. Nobody is interrupting them. Nobody's interrupting their day. Nobody's seeking them out. They, within themselves, came to a conclusion that they need to seek out a solution for a problem that they have. And so they themselves are going into Google on their own volition, and they are typing in Google specific keyword terms, and then your ad is displayed in front of them. They, on their own, out of their own choice, they select your ad, and then they enter in their information. And that's why it's such a high quality lead. Some of the highest quality leads that you will ever get are pay-per-click leads. And so I love pay-per-click advertising. It's working extremely well for us still in 2022. I'm going to continue to utilize it, and I highly recommend for most people, if they can afford it, to utilize pay-per-click advertising. Now, with pay-per-click advertising, I'll talk about some pros, I'll talk about some cons. So obviously the pros are you're getting a motivated seller lead. You're getting somebody who's actually seeking out a solution to a problem that they have in their life. So that's definitely a pro. And one of the cons, though, with pay-per-click advertising is that you usually have to get to those leads really quickly, because when somebody searches in Google, what happens is there are several other results that show up. And a lot of times these people aren't just entering in their information in one website. They may go to multiple different websites and basically try to shop around offers to see if they can get the highest offer possible for their house. And so a lot of the times you're going to have to move really quickly. Usually with our team, we want our team to respond to Google pay-per-click leads within 5 minutes of receiving that lead. And so if we can get to that lead faster and we can get an offer into that lead's hands as quickly as possible, then we've got a higher chance of doing business with that seller. We've got a higher chance of contracting that property. And so Google pay-per-click is an extremely, extremely effective marketing channel that, if you can afford it, I highly recommend to do it, because it's some of the best leads that you will get. And it's hard to beat the quality of leads that you will get from PPC. So guys, that is the top 4 marketing channels that I see are working best for generating motivated seller leads in 2022. So remember what I discussed. I like to use a combination of both inbound and outbound marketing channels. So I listed 2 inbound marketing channels, radio advertising and Google pay-per-click. And I listed 2 outbound marketing channels, which are SMS and cold calling. and all 4 of these channels are working extremely well. And so whenever you're looking at implementing a marketing plan, those 4 channels, you can't go wrong with those 4 channels. Most of the time, if you have a good marketing budget. Now, if you're on a lower marketing budget, you may start with SMS and cold calling because those are cheaper cost per acquisition marketing channels. And so if you're looking for help implementing a customized marketing plan, that's exactly what we do at REI Game Changers. I will attach a link in the description down below if you're interested in having us help you build a completely customized marketing plan. Not only that, but also how to implement these marketing channels in the most effective way possible into your business. That's exactly what we do at REI Game Changers, and we've utilized these marketing channels not only to help my business scale to multiple 7 figures, but also helping my students as well scale to 6-figure months and 7 figures in their businesses as well. So if you enjoyed this video, click the like button, click the subscribe button so that you get notified whenever I post more content on this channel. And again, if you're looking for help scaling your real estate business, go to reigamechangers.com, or I'm going to post a link in the description down below if you want more information on how we can help you scale up your real estate business. We'll see you later.